Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by my guy on the East Coast, Nate Weitzer. We are going to get into the Tuesday night slate of games for this NBA playoffs. Got 3 games to talk about here. Just as a reminder, if you do need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find all those local listings in your area. And we'll likely have another gift card coming up for you here in another show as we're waiting to see what happens with that Nuggets game. See if Joker, what he gets for points, rebounds, and assists there. We offered a gift card in the previous show for that. But yeah, stay tuned. Make sure you are like and subscribe to the video. Jump in the comments. Tell us what you guys are betting. We are in the playoffs, y'all. It is a good time to be here. Nate, let's get into the lines for the 3 games we got on Tuesday night.
Yes, sir. We have the Celtics plus 9.5 in game 2 at Brooklyn. Total at 227 there. Then we have the Lakers minus 1.5 at the Suns with a total of 208. Lakers are minus 120 on the money line there. And then finally, the Mavericks plus 6.5 at Clippers. Total is 216. And the Mavs, despite winning by 10 in game 1, are plus 225 on that money line. So I guess we'll start with the first one on the slate, the East Coast game. Do you give my Celtics any shot whatsoever?
Man, I don't know. It's a tough game 1. My gut feeling is they blew their only shot, to be honest with you. I do think that, the slow start that we saw from Brooklyn is somewhat of a result of those, the big 3 not playing together, not having much time to gel together. And, James Harden not playing a ton of games in a row. He did his thing as far as distributing and still managed to get over 20 points. But, their shooting is what stands out. It was awful. They shot 41.7 for the field for the entire game. And really for the start of the game, it was incredible. They had no 3-pointers made halfway through the second quarter. Boston had a 12-point lead. And there was, there was a point in time in the third quarter where Kyrie took over and did his thing against y'all, scored 11 points during a 17-3 run for the Nets, where they really pulled away and kind of ended things there. But that it's that shooting that really stands out to me. I mean, KD was 1 for 8 from 8 from 3. But what ended up happening is he attacked the paint and he had 30, he ended up with 32 points. 38% of those were scored in the paint. 34% were scored from the line, meaning 72% of his points came either in the paint or at the line. He was obviously attacking the rim a ton as soon as his 3-point shot wasn't falling. And then as far as, the other guys, Kyrie did his thing, as we said. They continue to get what they want. They create isolation plays, which is exactly what they want. They did that at the second highest rate in the league. And when they are on isolation plays, they shoot the ball at the highest rate, the best effective field goal percentage in the league. So what I'm getting at there is they got what they wanted. They just missed the shots. They shot very, very poorly in the isolation plays that they normally, get what they want by switching, because they have such great matchups all over the floor. And really for Boston, I'm wondering, what are they going to do if Robert Williams continues to be limited to sort of the minutes that he's been limited to? He's such a great asset for them on defense when you consider it that he's the only one who, you can consider really a shot blocker. 9 blocks in game 1 in just 22 minutes. And his shooting from the field as well on offense, and his athleticism is something that this team really, really needs, especially with Jaylen Brown not able to just sort of cover guys and gobble them up on the wing like he's been able to this year from, with his incredible defense. So, all in all, I think really what we saw is that the Boston had their chance because Brooklyn wasn't really ready to play and miss a bunch of shots, and they didn't come with it. I'm not scared by 8.5 points or 9 points. I do think this is going to be a blowout in game 2. If you don't like the points, I really like KD. 25 plus points in a win still gets you minus 115 at FanDuel. And then another couple to really, eye for me is James Harden, 10 plus assists and a win. I think he'll come back out. I mean, he had 8 assists in this game, and nobody was even making shots for Brooklyn. So that was really, really impressive, and he'll come out even stronger. And then if he gets a triple double, which he was very, very close to in game 1, and a win for Brooklyn, that's plus 450 at FanDuel. Just one last thing I'll add: if you do see Brooklyn come out slow again, I do think at least 1 or 2 games in these series left, they will come out slow again. If you think this is the one, I still think this is a sweep. So if it's anything close, I might eye some Brooklyn third quarter angles once we're in the middle of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that Brooklyn scores, and they score well at home, which is why they're 24-5 as home favorites this year. Something I talked about ahead of game 1 is Jason Tatum not having an easy time against Durant, and that was the case in game 1. Shooting 6 of 20 from the field, just 1 of 4 from downtown. The Celtics right now, if they don't have Tatum going off, they're not going to be competitive. Even when they have Tatum going off, they are not competitive from a chemistry and fighting power standpoint. I think when it rains, it pours on this team, and they could easily wind up giving up 120 and starting to pack it in for the season, or at least to say, oh, maybe we'll steal one at home, because the Celtics have not been reliable in any way, shape, or form on the road. I think if they steal a game, it will probably be back in Boston. So the Lakers find themselves in an unfamiliar position here, but so it seems as underdogs. But really, they lost game 1 in the first 2 rounds last year, and then came back pretty predictably to win the second game, and then actually to win all 4 games, right, against both Portland and Houston. I'm not saying that they're going to dominate Phoenix in that fashion, but what I am counting on is Anthony Davis snapping out of his funk. He has just been really out of rhythm in the playing game and in the final few games of the season. But he, in those games in particular, in those games too, shot 62% from the field, combining for 65 points in the wins over Houston and Portland. So I'm looking to just eye the Lakers bouncing back on the shoulders of AD. You get some nice props when you pit him up against Devin Booker to be the highest scorer of the game or to score more points than Booker, because on the flip side of that, I think the Lakers game plan has to be all about how they want to deny Booker, stop him from getting to his spots. It's a 5-man job, as Vogel says, and as every player echoed, they want to be physical with him. I think they will be, and they will be allowed to be physical with him, because that's how playoff basketball works. Booker had a nice debut, but the refs are not really going to help him out much, I think, as the Lakers try to even this series, and they have a lot of savvy veterans. And I think it's just about depth for the Lakers. Yes, the Suns have some really star-studded guards who can do things like Booker did, but the Lakers just have so many bodies, so many veterans to throw at you, so many ways to adjust as a series winds on, and that's why I think they will still pull this out. But as for game 2, yes, I'm looking at the player performance doubles just for AD in particular. If he gets 25 points in a win, that's plus 255. And if you really want to be bullish, 30 points in a win is plus 560 at FanDuel to really get some juice there for the Lakers bounce back on his shoulders.
Damn, yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense if you like them to bounce back. You like AD to do a ton more. We'll see. It really obviously depends on health. I think at the end of the day, too, really what's going to help AD more than anything is get Montrezl Harrell and Andre Drummond off of the floor, especially when he's on it. Now, I understand that there's, to a degree, they don't want to go with AD at the 5 right now and have him get beat up too much on the, when he's on the defensive end against DeAndre Ayton, who had a monster game in game 1. Between Marc Gasol and Markieff Morris, somebody else needs to come in and play the 5 when AD is not going to be playing the 5. And then, allow AD to score in space and do a lot more than he's able to do when you've got guys like Andre Drummond trying to bring the ball up the floor. Just no more Andre Drummond, for the love of God, please. But anyway, that game, we'll see what happens in game 2. I'm really excited about it. Another game with the LA squad, the Clippers at home again versus the Mavs. And what we're seeing here is, once again, similar to what happened last year. The Clippers team, they allowed Luka to score a ton of points. The difference is this time the Mavs won game 1, and Luka had another incredible game with his triple-double in only 41 minutes there, going, 31 and then 10 boards and 11 assists. And, look, it's the playoffs, and we'll see what we get from Luka in terms of, in another game with 2 games now into the playoffs. Last year, he did decline steadily over the course of the first 4 games, really had a sort of a seesaw performance in terms of his shooting percentage and his output, back and forth, win, loss, and bad game, good game, bad game. So we'll see what he's able to do 2 games in a row. I'm not trusting as much. Another thing that, I feel sort of won't be the case in game 1 is mostly how bad LA was on offense. and specifically from 3-point. They did have an 118 offensive rating in this game, but they were 17 of 40 from the field overall. Not horrible, or excuse me, that was Kawhi and PG combined. But that was illustrative of their overall performance as well, which is about 45% from the field. And it was really the 3-point shooting that was what was the issue for them coming off of a season where they put up historically good 3-point shooting numbers. They were really, really bad as a team, 11 for 40 from the field. And that's even worse when you consider that between Batum and Rondo, they combined for 6 of 11. That means the rest of the team went 5 of 29 from the field. Kawhi and PG themselves went 3 of 14. And I don't really think it had that much to do with Dallas's defense. We've seen them get better on offense, but I'm not sure that, their defense is still in a place that they should be stopping the Clippers to that extent. I don't necessarily love a 6.5 point spread because of the fact that we could still see Luka go off. They had a pretty good game on offense, and KP was actually pretty bad, so we could see improvement from him as well. So really what I do like is the Clippers on offense to be good, a lot better. I do like the over in this game in general at 216.5. I think that's gotten low enough that hopefully we can see the recent streak of 5 straight unders between these two teams change. But specifically, I'm really going to, look to hammer a little bit more the Clippers team total at 111.5. If anything, this looks like more like they would be the team blowing out the Mavs in this one, and 111.5 points seems good for them. And then the very last, player prop I like, Kawhi 3+ 3-pointers made in a win. That gets you 258 on the money there. And I do like Kawhi to come out and really try to put the team on his back here and get a ton of points.
Yeah, it's interesting with the team totals. Looking at the over, yeah, they add up to the over. But if you really bet each one separately, you're kind of hedging because let's say the Clippers win in a blowout. Well, you still get their team total. You almost break even. Let's say the Mavs win a blowout. Theirs total is only at 105, so they don't even have to win a blowout. They could just win a normal game, still get that, break about even. And then if you get the actual over, then you'll hit both, right? So I think both teams super efficient offensively, and the Clippers struggling at what they do best in terms of shooting threes. I think they'll snap out of that in game 2. I don't trust Paul George necessarily to lead that charge based on his playoff track record, but Kawhi, who averages 42 combined points, rebounds, assists, really 15 playoff games in a row, we're going back on that. His total there for points, rebounds, assists, just 39.5. I feel pretty confident he's going to be all over the floor in willing this Clippers team and trying to get the series back even.
Yeah, I love that logic there for sure. That is all the time we have for the slate on Tuesday night. You guys, we will be back with another show for you tomorrow covering that nice Wednesday slate as we roll on here in the NBA playoffs. As always, make sure to like and subscribe to that page. We'll come back with another gift card opportunity for you. And as for tonight, happy betting.